Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, and super excited about how Sunday went. Hold on a second. I don't know. I'm not sure. Is the buzzing just happening in my head, or is that on the radio? I don't know. At any rate, I first want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Source Solar. You can go to source.solar and find out about the great work that they do. I have it plugged in over here, which is where I usually do it. Is it better over there? Because I can't hear anything over here, Lady B. Thank you, my friend. Okay, now I can't hear myself. Oh, here we go. Yes, that's me. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lady B, to the rescue. There was a terrible buzzing sound in my head, which made it very hard for me to concentrate. And to thank our sponsors, go to source.solar and learn about the great work that they do. Make an appointment and find out if now is the time to get solar panels installed on your house or your business. There's over 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. And we are going to be talking to Peter and Warren in just a couple, not less than, my God, that means that tax week is next week, you guys. So we're talking to them next Monday. That's April 14th. And the next day, we're going to be in Madison at the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room. That's going to be on April 15th, which means I definitely have to get my taxes done. I know we've had our friend Badu from Badu Tax Preparation telling us that we should already have our taxes done. But yeah, that's not how I operate. At any rate, we'll be in Madison, and please check out my piece today. I wrote a column for the Minocqua Brewing Company tap room, for the Minocqua Brewing Company. So if you go to minocquabrewingcompany.com, you can sign up for the newsletter or subscribe on Substack. And I should probably link that to my own Substack. Right now, I'm kind of keeping my Substack to just chapters of my book, Chicago Girl. So maybe I'll either start a new one. I don't know how to do that. I kind of want to make them separate. This is a production meeting, not for you guys. I apologize. But at any rate, subscribe to Minocqua Brewing Company's newsletter, and you can check out my piece today about the protests on Saturday. Holy cats, you guys. I wasn't sure, like Joan, I kind of had some obligations on Saturday. Every Saturday we take Declan to physical therapy. And since we've gotten some new news about Declan's genetic disorder since last Wednesday, for those of you who perhaps missed it, on Wednesday, my husband and I found out that our 19-year-old son, who was born with a lot of medical conditions, Steve says I tell this the wrong way, by the way, Lady B, and you were frustrated with me because I made everybody sit through the commercial, and he said I was telling it like a bad story. You agree that I don't tell it well? He's like, you tell the story the wrong way. So let me start with, Declan has an extremely rare genetic disorder called Primrose. It does not change anything as far as how he's been treated, or it's not like it's just an explanation of what happened. It wasn't something that Steve or I carried genetically. It's just a typo essentially in his DNA code. And it gives us context for all the things that he has gone through. It does have a lot to do with the his muscles and his skeleton. I can never say that part. There's only 53 patients or 53 people in the entire world that are currently diagnosed with this. I imagine that it also goes fairly undiagnosed because these disorders can look like other things, especially the agenesis of the corpus callosum, which Declan has, which is a disruption in the fibers in the midline of the brain, which would also control development across the board. So if someone has agenesis, it's possible that the specialists just go, the agenesis may have caused all this sort of chain reaction of other developmental delays, or like for Declan, he has severe scoliosis, 172 curvature, which was extremely dangerous for his entire organ system, and so he has 2 titanium rods in order to make sure that he can stand up and not compromise his lungs, his other organs. At any rate, so that's very common amongst individuals with Primrose, and he has hypothyroidism. He has which has to be managed, and that's been the case since he was born. So everything that he has, and I think for us, it is just an explanation. It does not change the treatments that we give for him. But I also want, I want to be with him through some of the conversations we're now having with his physical therapist so that they have more experience with it too, because we already had something that nobody really seemed to be familiar with, which was the corpus callosum disorder. Long story there, but I guess the short story long is your impression of what autism looks like for many people, I think, is based on what they see, whether it's Rain Man or like savants or people who are really good at something. In the case of Rain Man had a corpus. The man it was based on, his name was Kim Peeks, had complete agenesis of the corpus callosum. He was missing all of his corpus callosum, meaning all the fibers down the midline of his brain connecting the right side with the left, and which is necessary for your global development, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, higher functioning thinking and learning, and language reception and speaking. Declan just has a few of those fibers missing in the frontal lobe, which causes a chaotic disruption across the board. But Kim Peeks, because he didn't have those fibers, they think that the theory is that then one side of his brain took over completely, and that was where he had a photographic memory. He had total recall. He actually worked for NASA. He was a mathematician. He was a math savant. So they changed it a little bit. What always struck me at the end, not always, it's because I did not know about my beautiful agenesis corpus callosum little boy. So one day I was on the road and Rain Man happened to be on, and I hadn't had any interest in watching it, but as it turned out, it was toward the end of the movie where, Tom Cruise has taken Dustin Hoffman with him to first they're in Vegas counting cards and things. They're on the wildest road trip for, brothers. And Tom Cruise is asleep, and Dustin Hoffman decides to make breakfast for himself. I think it's a toaster oven. He starts a fire, and the alarms are going off, and he starts to panic, and he just knows he needs to get out because there's smoke, and there's a chain on the door. And I don't remember how I felt when I saw the movie. I'm sure I was like, just get the chain off, just take the chain off. But that was very accurate on how Declan's brain kind of works. Like Declan knows, let's say to go outside, he knows that he has to put his shoes on. So he can't speak, so he will give you his shoes, meaning I want to go outside. And for Dustin Hoffman, it was the door open, just open the door. The chain is too much of a step. All he knows is open the door. So that was really interesting to kind of learn. But now with knowing there's a genetic element to this, I'm going to try to figure out a way to write this story, because it's just it's very strange to have spent a lot of time second guessing myself, not just with the idea that did I do something wrong while I was pregnant? Did I eat something? I had a really bad virus, or stomach, food poisoning for several days. Griffin and I were really sick after eating out. And so anyway, I carried all of that for a long time. And then I thought maybe if we'd had more money, if we'd had been able to get more services, if we'd been able to afford like a full-time nanny who could, who was trained in ABA therapy or speech therapy, or have those kinds of resources. And I can't take back all the guilt or fear that I carried with me, and I don't know how to, because I have an answer somewhat, but it was still the same outcome, right? It was going to be the same regardless. So if there are any parents who go through this, I know that those voices come raging back sometimes, and I will say I had gotten much better at, they would pop up maybe once a week or so, but I remember early on it was pretty much all the time. And I will say, one of the reasons that I go to protests, why I've gotten involved politically, why I started going to Springfield in 2015. It's pretty wild to hear that interview with Governor Pritzker, I guess, from during his race, the gubernatorial race, because I was going to Springfield at that time because Governor Rauner had made massive cuts to support services for the elderly, for people with disabilities, for childcare. And now we are seeing that on a national level that is going to harm so many people. In Illinois, there are 28,000 children who rely on early childhood programs, and they closed. I can't believe I didn't even see this because I was sent this by a coworker, by one of my supervisors at my state job, that they closed Chicago's Head Start offices, and that office manages 5 other states and their Head Start programs. So this is just one of the many catastrophic decisions that have been made by this administration. And then Chief Justice Roberts, with this decision right now in the last hour or so to put, I guess, pause everything they want to do. They want to sell it to us like they're pausing. They're going to take a break here from what? Delivering human rights, from due process. What are we talking about here? It's absolutely absurd. So there's so many reasons why I and millions of people around the world showed up to marches this past Saturday. And I know that Karen from Chicago, who was on Richard Chu this morning, talking about how, you might not, maybe you can't make it to this one, maybe you can't make it to the next one, or whatever it is you can do to make sure that our voices are heard, that your voice is heard, I think is incredibly important. There are many levels to which I think that the protest on Saturday was impactful. I think that showing the rest of the world, first of all, for me, I think is significant in the sense that they can see that over 1,400 cities turned out, and I think they're trying to figure out how to capture how many cities it might have actually been, but it's everywhere from Alaska to Florida, from Maine to Southern California, everything in between, Idaho, Kentucky. There are just millions of people, and I was so proud of my city here in Chicago. We took the Brown Line down to Daly Plaza, and it was spectacular. Now I think I had enough time to say hi to Jim. Jim, it's okay. You don't have to apologize to me. I never got close to the Picasso, my friend.
Yeah, but Patty, I felt terrible. And here's what happened. I've been taking sleeping pills for almost, God knows, 20 years. And what happened was about a month ago or so, it would be 2 at night to sleep, and I can't sleep without them. So I stagger the pills, and I had that for about 5 years, and it worked effectively. And they put it to one pill. And now this is a shrink, and I'm not going to start questioning him because it's so difficult to get. So anyway, make a long story short, I took one, and about 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday, I couldn't sleep. I was like, maybe I'll take another one. The hell with it. So I took another one, and it knocked me off by about 2 hours. So I get up, and I figured it'd be a 2.5 cigar day, right? So I got a half a cigar in my coat pocket and 2 more cigars in my top pocket, and I get I went and got an espresso, 3 shots of espresso. I thought, well, that'll get me started. So as I'm approaching, going to the Daily Center, I'm thinking to myself, geez, I'm a little off today. Is it the pill? Is it the espresso? Was it the cigar that early? But my point is, I started to get kind of claustrophobic because the last time I was at the Daily Center for a demonstration was '79 for the hunger strikers.
Oh wow!
And I've been down there a million times, Patty. And
sure.
My girlfriend, the Christmas market and so on, I would always go to LaSalle Street, or her sister's boyfriend was a lawyer. I'd go up and have a few drinks up his office. But if I'm smoking a cigar, I got to be away. In other words, I wanted to get down there maybe about 10:30 and stake out a place on LaSalle or something where I could, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Smoke a cigar and not bother anybody. But I felt terrible because I thought maybe you and Danny were looking for me. And I'm like, oh, my God, I got to get down there. But I honestly goodness, I had like a kind of a dizzy spell. I'm like, the Republicans are going to kill me anyway, Patty. So
yeah, don't let them get to you now.
Why today? At least give me a chance to get my pins back together. I can go down for a couple more, demonstrations. But real quick, Patty, the response from the Illinois Republican Party was an AI response. Typical. I don't know if you could dig it up anywhere, but anyway, it's not the point. They said these were bots. These were Democratic bots.
Yeah.
Now that's an AI. That's an artificial intelligence response. That's not even a response from a human being.
I know. And they're saying that we were paid. I didn't get my check. Did you get your check? They're saying that we're going to pay like $100 million and stuff, and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
But the response was not even human. It wasn't even like a human response. It didn't make any sense. But everybody's up in arms. Every economist all over the globe is questioning this guy's sanity. Of course, I've been questioning his sanity ever since I saw him. But anyway, I didn't want you to spend too much. You or Danny spending too much energy looking for me. But next time, I'll be down there early. The guy with the cigar, by himself, that'll be me, Patty.
All right,
and
Jim.
Have a great show, Patty. Thank you.
Have a good night. Thanks, Jim. Too funny. Let's take a break here. Continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 Seattle, Washington.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
Or
and Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
We all have a lot to say. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get to our phone calls. Again, we've been talking about the wildly successful protests all over the world. It wasn't like there wasn't like exuberance or joy. It was sort of this focus. Like, okay, let's do this. Let's get there. Let's gather. Let's be heard. We marched about. I think it's. I don't know how long it is. We walked. It's so terrible with some of the streets downtown. I know we ended up on State Street. We looped around. We came down the financial district, so we must have been on LaSalle, like Jim said, right? And I don't know where we took a left, and then up State Street, and then back to the Daily Plaza, and it was spectacular. And I got on the train. I had a sign on one side that was about Doge, and on the other side, my friend's daughter had made a sign that said, "Vaginas brought you into this world. Vaginas will vote you out." Right? And so I was trying not to hit people with my sign, and I was standing on the brown line, and this woman goes, "I'll take your vagina sign. I always need a good vagina sign." So she was holding out on my sign, and when she got off the train, she raised her fist and she goes, "Keep resisting, MFers." And I was like, "That's right, bitches." So it was very fun right there. It was a very fun moment on the train. 'Cause that's where we are. There's no room to be polite or pretty about things. I don't have time for that. Let me get to Roosevelt in Chicago. What's on your mind, Roosevelt?
Thank you for taking my call, my friend.
Hello.
Patty.
Thank you for calling.
Hey, listen, I got a couple of things.
Yes.
This guy, now you see me, now you don't, now you see me, now you don't. I'm talking about Trump.
Right.
So explain to me, because I'm confused.
Yep.
What did he do today? Because the stock market went down, and then it came up, and then it went down.
Yep.
So what exactly specifically did he do today? Because I can't keep up with this garbage.
Well, and that's the thing. That's why I was even mentioning, I can't believe I didn't hear the story on Thursday about our Head Start office closing last week, right? Because so many things happened in the course of one day. And apparently there were rumors this morning that there was a leak out of the White House or some conversation in the White House that they were going to have a 90-day pause on the tariffs already, right? So that, I guess, with the idea of cooling the market. So the market shot back up. So my guess is someone wanted to mislead the public and the traders so that they could make some money and then bail on it. I mean, there are people who do this day trading and minute by minute trading and find those angles. But aside from that, he said, what did he do today? He said that the protests were fake, that we were all paid. Let's see, what else? I don't even know. He said that the measles is not a big deal, that they're watching it, even though we now have 3 people who have died from measles and over 600 cases, which I believe is like way surpasses the numbers of 2024 in the entire year. So those are just some of the things I can think off the top of my head. What else?
No, you covered it. You covered it. But let me tell you something. He's messing with the wrong countries, and I mean countries. Let me tell you why. This country is relatively young. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, you're messing with China? Really? They're playing chess, and this guy's playing marbles. because you want to play a game of chicken with China. And wait a minute, come to think of it, all the stuff is made in China. His daughter's stuff was made in China. So we owe China. So you really want to do this? I mean, come on, it's no match, Patty.
I know.
You know, what is that? FAFO? What is it?
Fart around and find out. Yeah, FAFO. I say fart around to stay away from saying the other F word.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is it's no match. And you know he's going to coward. You know he's going to do something stupid. When it comes down to the market and markets, you know, here's the thing. This could be, like I said before, an inside job. We don't know what the whole plan is because we're dealing with a neurotic, and he cannot leave things alone. I mean, starting from what the money that his father left him or gave him or loaned him or whatever you want to call it, he destroys everything. He managed it. You know what it is? He manages to micromanage every single thing. That's why he needs people that are, first of all, loyal to him. And what does that mean? It means two things. Not only loyalty, but liars. Double L.
Yeah.
Liars and loyalty. That's what it is. Because they're going to be just as much of liars as he is. He poisons people's minds by, first of all, demanding loyalty. And they know what to do. And to give you a perfect example, I said this before. A lot of these guys, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but specifically Rubio, he's a lawyer. There's another L. He's a lawyer. He knows better what he's doing with those people. And come to think of it, Patty, nobody questions the fact that they don't have due process. Forget about that because we know it's not happening. So who's going to invest in this country? This $5 million gold card. Where's that money going to go to, Patty? Has he said anything about?
Oh yeah, right. No, there's no indication that that's intended for anything else other than a grift.
And from time to time, Patty, I think, now if I was him, I would be thinking, but it's hard to put yourself in his place because we don't know. I mean, think like him. And one thing I do know for sure, he's aching. He's aching to have a bill, a currency with his image. That's
God.
What I'm thinking.
All right, on that, Roosevelt, you've left me with a bad taste in my mouth. The idea of Trump being on anything other than a most wanted sign. I got to run and at least take another call before the break, Roosevelt. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me a lot of time, by the way.
Oh boy, talk to you later,
okay,
Roosevelt.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Stephen Desplaines, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hello, Miss Patty. Yes, I was at the protest with an old friend of mine, Sue.
Uh-huh.
And Sue is like 4'5", small little Jewish woman from New York. And we're standing there. We're at the corner of Dearborn and Washington, whatever. Anyway, we're on the corner of the plaza there. And Sue turns around to me and says, "You'll never guess who's standing behind us." We turn around, and standing right behind us was Beto O'Rourke.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. I didn't know he was in Chicago.
He was in Chicago for some sort of speaking engagement. I mean, he's in private business maybe. I don't know. Probably. He is unemployed right now. Decent politics. And I turn around, and sure enough, he's standing right there. Nice-looking guy. He's like 6'7", it seems, or maybe taller. Looks taller.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and he just happened to be in a hotel downtown for this, and it lined up with the protest. So that was fun.
Nice spotting. Oh, congratulations on that, Steve. I'm glad that you went down there, and I know it was a great feeling.
Yeah.
I've got to run to our break. I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation. The number is 773-763-9278. More after this on WCPT and KKNW.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
Greg is on the line from Lake in the Hills.
I always recommend your show to everybody. I just really like your style. I like that you're a reporter, that you've got a background in reporting, and I just find your show and all your guests, like Jim especially, and Bobby and Dave, I think it is. I listen to all the time, and, you're great.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I want to give you an update on a story we were covering on Friday with our friend Eric Willoughby out of North Carolina, a young man who is a DNC delegate for North Carolina, who is only 18 years. Is he even 18? I can't remember. I think he said he was 18 when we talked to him on Friday. We were talking about the decision by the Court of Appeals in North Carolina that had ruled in the favor of the Republican candidate for the Supreme Court that they were going to basically go through over 60,000 votes and compel voters. They had 15 days. 60,000 voters were going to be notified. And I think it was actually closer to 65 would be notified that they needed to prove that they were eligible to vote, and otherwise they would have their vote thrown out, potentially flipping the results in the Republicans' favor. Today, the North Carolina Supreme Court has temporarily blocked that ruling without statement. It's just basically an order that was signed by one of the Republican Supreme Court justices. It came without comment. So we will see what happens. Of course, it's already being appealed. But on the same day as I was Googling North Carolina, however, apparently North Carolina Republicans have filed one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country. It will make abortion after conception, meaning, so by the way, conception, this is the thing that is, it's because conception is measured 2 weeks before intercourse. I don't know how to explain this to folks, but so when we are pregnant, we don't start counting from the moment we had sex and the sperm was introduced to our eggs. It's 2 weeks prior to that, to the previous cycle about. And so what they're saying now is like basically, I mean, like any woman can be pre-pregnant. That's the thing, is every woman who is capable of getting pregnant is pre-pregnant, ladies. Let's just all keep that in mind. I just want you to know that in case you were at all thinking that, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If you have sex, then you have to be responsible for the consequences kind of people, or God deems it kind of folks. So I guess I can't. It's just so many things. At any rate, they would only make exceptions. The only exception would be if the woman's life or the mother's life is in danger. There will be no exceptions for rape or incest, and so it goes from conception. So there is no point at which you can terminate a pregnancy for any reason. Right. I mean, because the idea of the health of the mother, we've already seen that play out in other states. In Texas, a woman nearly went into sepsis because they said that she wasn't close enough to death to have the abortion. So spare me at least it's this is why we cannot have any sort of unless, because even if where we say rape and incest, the occurrence of women even being able to report. So what are you going to do in the duration of a pregnancy? Are you going to be able to file charges, lead an investigation, get all the evidence, put together a trial, and convict him? That doesn't happen. So don't even, the idea that we are even talking about that's why we cannot have those kinds of restrictions on this type of healthcare. Anyway, just want to put those out there. Paul in Seattle's on the line. Hi, Paul. How are you doing today? I mean, are you hydrating? Hold on. Let me get my support cup. Here we go. Hello.
I absolutely am, because I've had the flu all weekend. So that's all we're doing is drinking ginger ale. I know.
Stay hydrated.
I couldn't go protest. Yeah. Ginger ale rocks. Yep.
Bone broth. Bone broth is very good too.
Yeah. The idea that a woman has to be moving towards death.
Yes.
Before you can intervene.
Yep.
It's not just you're not in danger of death. It's that, no, you have to be moving. And the problem with that is, and this happened to me once with an allergic reaction, is that as you move toward death, it's not like a steady pace. You can move very quickly towards death where they can't save you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, in other words, to say that you have to be moving towards death before, and then say, oh, well, gosh, you were moving too quickly towards death, and we really couldn't do anything about it. I mean, I had an allergic reaction to a medication one time, and I just thought it was kind of, I have a fat lip. I got a swollen lip, and I couldn't. What?
Oh no!
It was weird, and then it was, and so I called an ambulance. I said, there's something about this that really. Something in my memory says this is not right, and I was eating clams out at the restaurant, but I'm not allergic to clams. I don't get this, and anyway, I thought, and then it started going across my face, and my whole upper lip was swelling up. And I went, I'm going to the hospital. So I called the ambulance, and they said, yeah, this isn't. And so they wheeled me in, and the doctor said, don't take your eyes off him. He's in big trouble, and I'm like, what? And I don't feel bad. He goes, I said, I'm not allergic to clams. And he said, it's not clams, it's your blood pressure medicine. And I said, well, I've been taking it for 4 years. He said, that doesn't matter. He said, that we don't know why this happens, but you can suddenly become allergic to it. And he said, you're in big trouble. And he says, and he said to me, he says, he said, are you having trouble breathing? I said, no. He said, well, I'll tell you what. He gave me this little button. He says, we have to leave the room for a minute. If you have any trouble breathing, I want to know about it 10 minutes before it starts. And then they walked out, and I'm just like, oh, I got this big lump in my throat. I'm like, burn. I was like, wait a minute. It's like, I said, huh? Yeah, and they said, he came in, the doctor told me last. He said a couple of weeks ago, he said a guy came in with the same thing. He said his tongue swelled up so big he couldn't close his mouth, and he died. And I was like, whoa. So the idea that somebody a woman is not sick enough, is not close enough to death is ridiculous. It's outrageous, and there's something wrong with the nation where men think that way, where anybody thinks that way. I don't care who they are, men or women. That's stupid. That is absolutely stupid. It's kind of like, if you fell off a cliff, would they say you're not close enough to the ground to intervene? It's like, you have to wait till you're 10 feet off the ground before we can try and do something. Absolutely stupid.
Yep.
Right? I don't. But yeah, I hate to invoke that. That's not why I called. About the tariffs, what people aren't getting and why the market is freaking is because the steep tariffs are necessarily going to inflate all prices, even of domestic products. And the reason is because, like Trump said, he wanted to put a 200% tariff on, say, European wines like French wines. Okay, so you look at this, what happens is if you put a 200% tariff on a $20 bottle of French wine, okay, now that bottle of wine is $60. Okay, are you going to buy that? No, I'm not going to buy that. Okay, so that's good for the American winemaker, but that French wine is now essentially off the market because no one's going to buy it at $60, right?
Right.
So that means what just happened? You eliminated like 40% of the market. So now now the supply is gone. So you might buy the American wines, but now you're in an undersupplied market. That's what we had. That's what causes inflation. And so now if you eliminate, say, 40% of the market, that's all the foreign wines, then that $20 bottle of American wine, of California wine, is going to be like at least $28 because you eliminated 40% of the market. Yep. Okay, so then if the wine seller, the American seller, is going to say, well, hell, you don't have any other choices, I'm going to make it $39 and up and down the line. The only thing the domestic or the foreign producer can do, the French wine can do, is to keep in the $20 competitive sales range is to cut the price of the wine to a third, $6.67. But you can't do that. You can't sell it for that. The shipping is more than that much. So it all prices higher, and that's why the markets are tanking.
Yeah, I mean, and this idea that, well, they've been tariffing us, they've been making money off of us. I was thinking about this today, like the cost of goods and what things in comparison to what they would like when you and I were younger. We can play that game. Back in my day, the things that cost the most are the cost of living. It's the groceries, it's the rent, it's the healthcare, right? And the idea that we are going to make those elements of our lives more affordable by raising the prices, the tariffs on other countries so that everything we have access to is wildly more expensive is absolutely asinine. I mean, I told you, I've said this before. I got a D in economics. I'm more than happy to say that I don't get economics, the butter and guns and supply and demand, and it's just not my area of expertise by a long shot. But at least I didn't break the economy. This is the stupidest thing I can't even wrap my mind around. People getting excited about it. All these people for years, Trump said that if the stock market's tanking, the president should be impeached or doesn't deserve the job. All these things. And Trump said that he was going to make egg prices drop on day one. That gas prices were going to go down. That all these things that were going to be fixed. Ukraine was going to be fixed. And these people they keep moving their own goalposts, and they without any sort of self-awareness whatsoever. Like, oh well, it's going to be bad for a little bit, but this will be better. And it's leveling the playing field, and everyone's going to now we're going to get our wealth back. That wealth is being flooded to the oligarchy. Anyway, it makes me mad, Paul.
Well, again, if you have such steep tariffs that nobody buys the foreign product, you're not going to reap any revenues from it because no one will buy. I'm not buying a $20 bottle of French wine for $60, so you get no tariff out of it. You get zero.
Yeah,
nothing.
No one makes anything on that.
Okay, so that's stupid. And the other thing is that it's such a big lie that Trump is telling us, oh, Europe puts 39% tariffs. No, because if they were steep tariffing us, they'd have the same problem that I just described. I just heard the guy earlier, a reporter, the president of Malaysia, is saying, he says we're putting 47% tariffs on American products. He goes, I don't know where he's getting this. Yeah. Malaysia, everything that comes to Malaysia is shipped in. They don't have anything. They don't make anything. So why would they tariff things? That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think, and my husband just texted. He said people will buy quality and just spend less. We'd rather have decent whiskey than crappy whiskey, decent clothes over crappy clothes. I'll be at the thrift stores, folks. I've been at the thrift stores now for over a year, as you guys know. And actually, I want to thank my friend Meryl Miller, who made a donation to the ACLU and gave me the shirt that she received that says "Immigrants make our community stronger." So thank you for that. I'm wearing that right now, Paul.
They do.
Yes.
Immigrants. I would trade. I told you before. A couple of weeks ago, I was at a citizenship oath swearing in Kansas City, and I got to tell you, there were 352 new citizens from 71 countries, and the pride I saw in there was unbelievable. I would trade 10,000 MAGAs for every one of those people that were in there.
Yep.
How proud they were. Yep.
Amen. Have a good day. I hope you feel better, Paul. Take care of yourself. Absolutely. Bone broth.
Bye-bye.
And fermented garlic and honey. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 Seattle, Washington.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
We're going to have a little bit of an extended Motivational Monday. First joining us right now is Jen Zanotti. She's a jiu-jitsu expert and instructor. She also leads people through, I would say, Jen, an emotional journey through wellness and mindfulness and positivity. I don't know. That's just my new description for you. Hi, Jen Zanotti. How are you doing? Jen, I might be
good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, I was on mute. I'm sorry.
I am on mute.
I was on mute.
It's so good to talk to you. I have my giant hydration cup. I call it my emotional support water cup. And I also have my emotional support dumpster fire that somebody sent to me. It's a little crocheted, beautiful little knitted item. I messaged you earlier today about our topic today, and I was thinking about how much energy people have coming out of this weekend, knowing that around the world there's a sense that okay, we're not alone. And I wanted to talk to you about carrying that sort of energy and positivity with us, and maybe not even just that. Time hops on my phone. Sometimes it can be sort of painful painful memories of maybe people I've lost or moments that weren't so great in my life. But today was a time hop of Declan being on a merry-go-round when he was like 3 or 4 years old with like the greatest expression on his face. And I was like, I remember taking that photo. So I wanted to talk about capturing energy and positivity and sort of like tapping into it when maybe we need it the most.
Yeah, and I think, as when we were talking earlier, using this weekend as an example is great, but it's really anything, right? Any time that we have felt excited or happy or super energetic or great moments in our life, and I love that, the picture of Declan, like great things, great reminders that come up, right? I think if we can really when we're going through hard times and struggling with things, going back to those times to just remember how we felt. Close your eyes and go back to like how you felt, what was going on that day, what the event was, or whatever it was that made you happy, to really help kind of motivate you to remain positive or to stay positive and push forward. I think it's super important. And I think we can do that. I think sometimes we need to do that a little bit more often because it can get easy these days to get negative, right? And we need things to kind of bring us out of that state of mind a little more quickly. So I think coming back to those events where we were together with a lot of people and felt super energetic or felt super positive, or just moments that we had in our life, I think it's so important to be able to refer back to those things.
I agree. And it's funny, when you do, there are folks who lead meditations and they'll, tell you to think of a moment in your life when you felt the safest or whatever it is that like you're happy, whatever grounds you. And mine goes all the way back to when I was like 11 or 12 years old at Girl Scout camp. And I used to like float in the lake and just like, and here's the thing, that was a time in my life when I didn't have any responsibilities. The only thing I had to be responsible for was making sure that my tent was clean and, hose off the canoes when we were done with it, that kind of stuff. And, but I just, that how good that felt, the sun on my skin, the water, feeling weightless, all those. And for me, like, I wish I didn't have to go that far back, but it also reminds you that it's in you. You know what I mean? Like that kind of level of steadiness, I think. That's why I kind of go back there. And but with photos too, just remembering, when you feel like whether it's joy or love or all those things, to remind us why we do all the other things to get through all this crap, Jen.
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, we live one life, and I think it's just important to remember, like, we might be going through it right now. A lot of people are, but coming back to those moments, those happy places, even setting time aside for yourself, and we talk about this a lot, but just to kind of detach and separate even momentarily from everything that's going on or the news, whatever it may be, to be able to come together with friends, with family, remembering, times that were great in your life, taking just self-care time out for yourself, right? Getting a massage, going to a meditation class, going to a fitness class, whatever it is, because I think we need as much positivity, as much mental health and wellness we can get right now to be able to stay really strong and empowered. I think you need to, feed that fire inside of you, and you need to feed your soul with good things for yourself, with good people, and as much positivity as possible to get through some of the hard times.
Yeah, I am just trying to, again, and to remind folks, too, I think there's also folks who feel like, I wish I could do more, right? Or they're not ready yet to sort of to get into the mix of whatever that is, or even let go of those emotions. I think trying to manage this, someone told me last week, because I told them that some of the things that I'm seeing are terrifying, and they were like, well, that's what they want. They want you to be terrified. But I take I do things despite the terror, right? I mean, I make it quieter is all I can say by taking action, right?
Mm-hmm. I think, and we've said this as a time right now, and I think to be able to feel when you feel hopeless or you feel like things are out of your control, I think stepping up, reaching out to people in your community, reaching out to the city that you live in, like, what can you do? Like, if you do feel like it's time, right, that you want to be able to step up and take some kind of action, but you have no idea what that is, there's so many resources out there, right? So I think contacting, connecting with the people in your community to be able to do something. And if you don't feel like you can get out there on that level yet, just if you see or know people that are really being impacted by a lot of the changes being made, offer them one-to-one support. Just, be kind. I think I feel like there's so much divide and so much hate right now, and I feel like we just need more kindness and more empathy. And I think if you can offer that to someone, that can go a long way.
Jen, I've known you for a long time, and you've seen me go through some stuff, and maybe I haven't been privy to stuff. How do you manage your rage? Is it all going to your jiu-jitsu? Because I've never seen you lose your cool. I mean, you just things just roll off of you. You exude this positivity. It's not fair. And I'm not. I know there's a lot.
Husband.
Okay.
No, there are times we're all going to have different emotions, right? And I think I have a really good partner and a support system to be able to vent, to be able to communicate. Like, those things are important. I'm not here where, life is all that's not it, right? But one of our members of the gym is like, you're just relentlessly positive. And he's like, even when you're upset about things, like, you're so positive. And I'm like, I try and just come back to that, because staying in a negative space for me just doesn't give me, I feel like, the strength to be able to take action and do something. So I feel like we're trying to find the positive loophole for myself and remind myself that if I can feel the feelings and then move forward and figure out what can I do to remedy the situation or whatever it is that I'm going through that's stressful at the moment, that's how I can best take action. But if I'm kind of sitting in a place where I'm just choosing to remain negative, it's going to be hard for me to move forward and do something about it. So I think that's where you've got to feel your feelings. I have great people I can communicate to, and I get stressed. And listen, I got that Italian, I got that Italian girl in me too, where I get real heated about something quick. But then, I think I'm just blunt about it, and I communicate it, and,
sure.
I kind of think through it, and then I'm like, okay, I felt better about that. And I definitely think fitness and jiu-jitsu have helped me deal with a lot. It does not take the place of, therapy or anything like that. I don't want to suggest that, but it is a huge stress relief. And when you are, grappling and fighting people on the mat, I mean, you can't think about anything else. Like, you have to survive. And if you can survive there once you step off the mat, I feel like it gives you the sense of empowerment that you can really face pretty much anything. So it is a huge help.
I think I want to go back to something you said, which was you called it a positivity loophole. Is that what you said? I kind of like the sound of that.
Yeah, I think I said positivity loophole. Yeah. That just, I feel like you can be in this negative place, but you've got to spin it. Like, I've got to put the positivity back on it. It's just like, how do I come back around to finish it, like a negative note or thought or feeling, and bring it, back into the positive.
All right. I know a lot of us are trying very hard. It's taking work. It's funny because both require work. Some people maybe are naturally positive, but it is a choice as far as I can tell. Right?
Yes. It is. And when I say, like I said, it's not being positive. Like, there are people who could be overly positive, and you almost feel like it comes across as fake. Is that authentic? Is that not?
Right.
But I think, in this, when I say coming back to being positive, I want to find hope. I want to think about what I want the outcome to be. So it's almost manifesting things. It's having hope. It's having faith, right? But it's also, if I come back to a positive place, it makes me be able to take action. because in a negative state, I don't feel like I can do that. So I think being, it takes a lot of strength to be positive, but I look at it as that's a way for me to then take action to be able to, create the outcome or help at least get the outcome that I want. So I think that's where I look at positivity. It's not just, my head's up in the clouds like, oh, well, this isn't going on or this isn't happening, but it's like, this is the situation. This is what we're dealing with, whatever it is, not necessarily, it could be what's going on today in the political world or whatever is stressing you out in your daily life. It could be very minor, but still looking to be in that positive state after recognizing and understand what is my fear, what are my stresses, what emotions am I going through, communicating those things, making a list. What is my biggest fear? What am I going to do if that happens? I think kind of strategically talking through that and mapping that out makes you almost feel better and can put you back into a positive state of mind to then take action towards your outcome.
Outstanding. We've been talking to Jen Zanotti. You can go to allthingsgenz.com to learn about the great work that she does. We feature her every Monday to give us a little boost, a little positivity boost. And I'm so grateful for you, my friend. Say hi to Jay for me.
I will. I love you.
Love you. Take care. Let's take a break here. Bye-bye. Let's take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to our friends Maddie and Benita. We're going to talk about their podcast, It's a Life Thing. A little more sort of Motivational Monday ahead for us on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KKNW 1150, Seattle, Washington.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. Want to say hello to our friends listening in the evenings on KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota, joining 1150 KKNW in Seattle, Washington, the alternative voice of Seattle. And, of course, we're broadcasting here in Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. You can go to heartlandsignal.com and listen to our show there in the event that our connection starts to get a little wobbly, or you can watch the live stream on YouTube or Facebook. And thank you to our sponsors for making these conversations possible. Hello to our friends at Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment. Might be the time to put solar panels on your house or business and join over 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. Put on your calendar, I think we should have a road trip. I think it's time for you guys to get up to Madison and join me for our live broadcast from the Minocqua Brewing Tap Room in Madison, Wisconsin, in Wisconsin State Capitol. It's such a fun town, you guys. We'll be broadcasting live on April 15th from 5 to 7. Would love to see you there. Go to MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. Please subscribe to their newsletter, and you'll catch my piece today. And if you buy some Lady Justice beer, you will support the work that I do there. And those are all my little kind of conversations that I want to make sure I start our show with. Before we continue our next conversation, joining me in studio is Maddie Figs. Maddie, how are you doing today?
I am good, girl. How are you?
I'm fine. I brought you water so we can both hydrate.
Yes.
I'm hydrating is how I am doing.
Here it is.
I was out at the protests this weekend, and I have been trying to cover a lot of news stories. So I told Maddie when she came in I wanted to address something that I had mentioned in the last hour because someone has just texted me. We were talking about when life begins, and I might have been a little clumsy on that because I still have a lot of rage. There was a governor of Arizona, and I've been trying to pull up the story, and this is like back in 2000. I want to say like 11 or 12 when they were trying to, I believe they passed in Arizona a law that life began before conception, 2 weeks before conception. So my apologies for not, because I knew it was in there somewhere, and I have to find the governor who did this. But basically, the state of North Carolina has proposed legislation that basically there's no abortions. They say in the event of a woman's life, being at risk, but you have to be at death's edge. You have to fall off the cliff, right? And just be holding holding onto gravel and sliding down, like you barely have a chance. Then they'll hand you a rope, and then you have to be strong. Like you have to still make it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not a good analogy. But at any rate, I'll try to find the information about this legislation that passed, my friend Steve, in Arizona, where I believe that was specifically what I had in mind. But we measure pregnancy, Maddie, 2 weeks before conception.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say that you are 6 weeks pregnant, it wasn't that you had sex and a sperm joined with your little egg 6 weeks ago. It was probably 4 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks before that was when the egg. That's when the pregnancy starts.
Yeah.
So weird. Our bodies are fun. I'm so glad that there's so many men that are involved in how we can operate them.
You know,
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Along with Maddie Figs is Benita Santillanes, who is the co-host. They co-host a podcast called "It's a Life Thang." And this is your fourth,
our fourth episode.
Excellent, congratulations!
Thank you.
Excellent.
And it wouldn't last.
What's your latest podcast? What's going to be your?
This next one is about grief. We have a set of siblings who lost their father 20 years ago when they were in their 20s to complications from intravenous HIV drug use.
Okay.
But then the mother obviously became the matriarch and the father and the mother and held the family together. And then she died suddenly.
No.
20 years later, not 20 years later, she died suddenly after a surgery that they were basically planning on bringing her home.
Oh.
And there were some complications. And it's basically how a family grieves differently together. And when the father passed, they were young, but now they were adults with their own kids.
Oh, they
and understanding. So it's kind of like a full circle.
Yeah.
We're just addressing grief within a family and heavy subjects, you know?
Well, and I find that, like, it's interesting to me. And I think a lot of folks who've gone through this, who've lost someone they love, there are people who also, like, judge your grief, which I never in my life would have imagined.
Yeah.
When my dad died, I mean, there are people who were basically like, I can't believe you're still upset about this, kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. It's 24 years later, and I'm still upset about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I'll tell you, man.
It's wild. I have... I was pregnant and I had my baby didn't make it. So I never even had her. And I go to her cemetery and I cry like I've raised her. I mean, the pain.
What's her name?
Her Destiny Nicole.
Come on. It's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
I love that.
Yeah. You know, and everybody does grieve differently. A lot of it has to do with the relationships that you have with people. But when it comes to mom and dad, dad hits different, but then mom hits even more different. And when you don't have them both and you're still young, you're in your 50s, you know, you're like, there's this, what's my future going to look like? And you've got the comparison of I'm this old and dad died when he was only a few years older than me.
Sure.
You know, so there's this whole reality check about a person's mortality. Mm-hmm. And then missed time, lost time, unspoken words. It's the whole, we're going to hit the full circle on this with these three.
And how you come upon it, too, that they thought she was coming home is also the shock of it, right? And because there is a difference. My father was diagnosed with lung cancer at the end of December in 2000. And then they gave him 6 months to live. He lived 7 months. So he died in June of 2001. And because of the urgency of time, knowing that it could be any day, and then it became any day because he had an aortic aneurysm. He had it was just larger. It was increasing, and it could be any moment now. So we got to do we had never gone to Cooperstown. We went. There was a movie he hadn't seen since he was a kid. I tracked it down, and I got it on 16 millimeter because it wasn't on. You know what I mean? Like, so I got a lot of those moments. I mean, you always want more.
Yeah.
But there was also, and there can be a beauty in grief because it means how much you love somebody.
Exactly.
And without that great love, with great love, I guess, comes unfortunately. We have to be willing to deal with the grief too.
Yeah, and it's wild that you said that because the title of the episode is A Legacy of Love Through the Eyes of Grief.
Right. Yeah, that is a legacy.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I mean, I was just thinking about my friend. A friend of mine just passed away, and I hate doing this because it's on social media. But if I was going to ask my friend Jerry if he knew a comedian, there was a comedian named Paul DiGiulio. Paul DiGiulio. There's a friend named Nick DiGiulio, and there's Paul DiGiulio. I got it. Paul, and I knew Paul really well. I knew Paul 30 years.
Wow.
And I just found out yesterday that he had passed from he had been on life support, and it's one of those things where we'd been grabbing breakfasts every once in a while a couple of years ago, and then things went sideways with Declan, and my bandwidth got smaller, and I feel bad that I hadn't seen him, but I can hear his voice, and and he's kind of like, that he's like, I figured when you didn't call me back, I was done too. It's okay.
For real.
Yeah, I mean, I find the humor. I try to. There's certain instances where that's my best way of coping with it, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's the best way when you start looking at those good memories and the ones that reach deep in your soul and make you cackle.
Right.
Those are the ones that help the healing process so much better. And
to remember the gifts they give you.
Yes.
There was a beautiful friend of mine who passed away last November. My friend Kristen McAllister, before she found out she was sick, I don't know if I told you the story. Before we found out she was sick, I was out to see her in Los Angeles. And we were just having coffee, and I was so proud of her for making the move to L.A. Yeah. She was on Jimmy Kimmel's show and had a lot of commercials and stuff. And I said, I gave it a shot. I tried. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You're still here."
Yeah.
And then a month later, she found out she had cancer.
Yeah.
And she was gone.
Yeah.
And it was almost like this message of like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's, I'm fortunate. I have both my parents and they're 87.
Oh boy.
So I know how blessed I am to have them both. And they've gone through their moments. My dad had some health scares last year that kind of got that reality check. And it's the same thing. It's like, what do you want to do that you haven't done? Or you want to do something? Okay, we make it happen, just so that you don't have regrets later saying, "Oh, yeah, we'll do it next week. We'll do it next week." And then you're like, he just wanted to do X, Y, Z, or she just wanted to go here. If you have people that you love in your life, just spend time with them, text them, because if you really, really love them and they're gone and you have regrets, you can't say anything to them anymore. Yeah. It's hard.
I had a great trip to New Orleans with my mom. That was something she wanted to do, was take a train trip.
That's awesome.
It was very cool. So, Mom, let me know what else we're doing. What's our next adventure?
Yes, for sure.
What's our next adventure?
For sure.
Speaking of adventures, I want to take a call because we were talking about the march downtown.
Yes.
Did you get a chance? Did you see all the footage?
I saw the highlights.
It was great.
I love it when people come together.
Absolutely. Debbie in Old Town. Debbie, were you at the march where were you?
Absolutely. Well, we went to the rally at Daly Plaza and gathered, and then I did the whole march all the way through and down, and yep, this is what democracy looks like. Right. We chanted it all the way.
Yep. It was funny. We were in the middle, and there was a point where, because there weren't, we needed more people with bullhorns, so we knew what the chants were. Because I can do some of the calling. I was screaming for my crowd, like the middle part, telling what democracy looks like, and then back and forth. But after that, I'm like, I can't remember some of the other ones.
I'm a screamer, so we had people around us all. It was wonderful, and it was people with their little children, ladies with on walkers.
Yep.
It was perfect. Debbie, I mean, it was really, really amazing.
It's so funny you say that because I just got a text from somebody in the 630 who said, Patty, I was at a demonstration at a Tesla dealer in Lyle. People with walkers, little kids, all ages. Exactly what you just said.
Yeah, this affects everybody.
Perfect.
It affects everybody.
And you know what? There were over 5 million people that protested that day and marched and rallied, and you heard so little about it on the news. I came home and I thought, I'm going to see every city now, and I'm going to, wow, we did it today. Boy, did we really get it. And all you heard about was, Trump's tariff. What is he doing this minute?
Yep.
It was so depressing. I could not believe it. The media, pardon me, but they suck.
Well,
it was just...
I appreciate that, and I get it. And I will also say that I think that the international media, I assure you, was covering it. And that was an incredibly important moment for people around the world to know that we're not rolling over and taking this, that we don't agree with what's going on, that we don't support his agenda, that we do think we are falling into authoritarianism. So I think that was, that message needed to get out there. I think the sense of community needed to be there to know that you're not alone, that there are millions of people, that there are people in freaking North Dakota that wanted to go out there, there are people in Tennessee and Kentucky and Idaho and Little Rock, Arkansas. Get that all up in her grill with the Huckabee Sanders, all that stuff. Anyway.
Yep, and you know where you found it. If you were on social, you could find all the rallies all over. You saw them. Okay, this is a big one in Ireland. This is a big one in France. This is, they were all over the world, and that's what we saw it. So,
exactly.
You know what? If the media doesn't want to cover it, we'll cover it for them.
I told you, you are your own journalist now, Debbie.
That's right.
What's happening? Thanks, Debbie. Have a great night. Good job. Let's keep
Love
going.
You, Patty. Bye.
Keep the resistance up, MFers. Let's take a break here. Continue our conversation.
This is what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like. Let's take a break here and come back and continue our conversation with Maddie Figs, co-host of It's a Life Thing, Wednesdays at 8
to 9 p.m. Central.
8 to 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. After this, we'll talk some more.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for continuing to drive it home with us. I am your host, Patti Vasquez. We're broadcasting here in Chicago on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. Hello to our friends listening in Seattle on KKNW 1150, the alternative voice of Seattle, and our friends in Minneapolis, St. Paul, listening on KTNF AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Maddie Figueroa. Maddie Figs joins us in studio, co-host of It's a Life Thing, along with Benita Santillanas. It's on Wednesday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. Fourth episode. What day of the Wednesday?
Second Wednesday of the month.
Second Wednesdays. I'm like, wait, what Wednesday is this? I volunteer for the farmers market in Jefferson Park. It's every second and fourth Sunday of the month, starting in June.
Oh, well, I'll have to come and visit.
Please do. There's an artist. I don't know if you've seen my rings, but like these three. How many of the? I should know. I'm sorry, I'm holding up the wrong fingers.
It's okay.
But these three are all by the same artist.
Oh, fantastic.
And this one,
They're beautiful.
Well, it's funny because we were speaking about grief.
Yes.
And I was in an emotionally abusive relationship that had kind of haunted me, and he had given me a necklace that was like I'll show it to you before you leave, but it was like this heavy silver, almost like a collar.
Yeah.
And I was going to give it away, and one of my friends said, "You can't put that into the universe. You can't give someone else bad energy."
Yeah.
So I kept it, and I'm like, "Now I'm keeping bad energy," right? So I was talking to a woman who works with this artist, and they melted it down and put in a volcanic obsidian, which holds negative energy.
There you go.
And it's my FU ring, but it's also I survived ring.
There you
kind
go.
of a thing. So then I bought other pieces by the same artist. I love this.
It's amazing. They're gorgeous pieces.
But it's also like it's grounding for me when we talk about grief or pain or trauma. Like sometimes I need something to go, oh, I made it. Right.
Yes.
I'm gonna make it to another moment.
Absolutely. I think it's important when we lose anybody significant in our life. It doesn't have to be a parent. It could be a close friend. I know Benita lost Rosie, or her childhood friend. I just lost a friend that we hadn't seen each other in over 40 years, but we were childhood friends, and we had pictures of us celebrating birthdays, and it was someone that never ever really left my mind.
Sure.
And to hear that they passed away, and then they're like, wait a minute, they were just a couple years older than me. It's like the reality of when you're living life and it's going badly, you want to bail, right? But then when you come on the opposite side of that, and like you said, you survive anything, any trial, any challenge.
Right.
And you look back and you're like, oh, I accomplished that. But then to know that someone you just lost has lost all those chances to do over or do for the first time. I think that's the part that saddens me, is now that I know we only get one, and if you do it right, once is enough, right?
I'm doing it to the best of my ability.
Yes,
I'll be honest with
exactly. You know, I tell Bonita there's a meme I saw not too long ago, and it's what I want on my tombstone. When I get to heaven, I don't want to arrive in a well-preserved body. I want to slide in and basically say, what a ride.
I made it.
I made it. What
Safe.
a ride. Yeah, you know, because I know I've given ulcers and gray hairs to my parents growing up, but, you know, it was all in search for adventure.
Well, and I think it's search for adventure and the things that we're passionate about that keep us going. And like on this show, we talk about what's going on, you know, whether it's going door knocking for candidates in Wisconsin. I just got a message from my co-producer to remind me that one of the candidates that we helped out when we amplified her message when we did our show in Madison, she won by less than a couple hundred votes.
Wow.
And there were 10,000 people that watched our live stream.
Yeah.
So hopefully we helped get her across the finish line. So congratulations to the let me find the race, because
every vote matters.
Really, I mean, it reminds you that every single vote counts. And this was an incredibly close race. This was our friend that we talked to last week, McClendon, attorney Jamie McClendon, the Racine County candidate for circuit court judge. She's become a circuit court judge. So congratulations to her. And again, it was just by a few hundred votes. So we're very excited about that. So
do things, girl. Go do things.
Go do things. And that's the thing is your point about people, when we lose them, we realize they don't have another chance at something.
Right.
I was in a massive fight, or I wasn't even in a fight. I was just mad about something. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And when I get upset, I get in the car, which, you know, when you're upset, you should definitely get behind the wheel of a vehicle.
Yeah. and
rational.
drive.
Yeah,
and drive.
But I drove. There's a cemetery on Milwaukee Avenue. Is it St. Alphonsus? I think it's St. Alphonsus. And my dad used to say when we drive by, goes, they can't bury us in there. You know that? And I'd be like, why? And he'd go, because we ain't dead yet.
Dad humor, dad jokes.
I know, but I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, like, these people here wish they had my problems.
Yeah.
Of being mad about whatever it is. And like, not that anybody wants to wish that they were in the situation we are nationally and internationally, but we're in it.
Yeah.
And one of our choices is to get through it and to fight.
Yeah. And to be able to say, I remember when.
Yeah.
I remember when.
Remember how much that sucked?
Yeah. Remember them tariffs?
Right? I need it to not suck so I can say, remember when it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. For real. It's funny because, as you know, everything is cyclical, you know, and you and I both know politically it's cyclical, right? So it's like, this isn't new to us, but it's, you know, you go back to the days when companies were shutting down to 3 and 4 days, not to shut down completely, not to lay people off completely, but eventually, you know, lost jobs, or people lining up at the gas station because the gas station was only open for so long. And if you got your quarter tank, good for you, you know?
Yeah.
I look at the stuff that's going on now, and I just wonder the magnitude and where it's going to go, knowing now that I'm older and I understand who has their hands in what cookie jars.
This is the thing.
Yes.
We're flooding the wealth up to we're taking it from the poor, from the working middle class, from people who thought they were going to close that gap between being working class and maybe upper middle class, and send their kids to good schools and things like that.
Yeah.
And they're shutting the door.
Yeah.
And I got my foot in that door.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their foot in that door.
Here's the thing that I always think about. They understand that we know how to survive because that's what we've been doing all of our lives.
They couldn't do this.
Not at all.
That's the thing. We work so hard at surviving, at providing for our families.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way.
Yeah.
The amount of blood, sweat, and tears that working class people put into our economy.
Yeah.
And what we get back from it is just wild to me.
Yeah.
And what people think that, like, it's just crazy. This sort of skewed idea that the wealthiest deserve more when they keep just hoarding it, like morbidly so.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny. The other day, I was kind of chuckling because, we do the comedy thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm chuckling because I'm watching everybody in front of me at the grocery store. And when the cashier would say how much they owed, everybody had that look at the bags like, where did I spend that much money? That, like, they're looking at their bags like, how did I spend double digits? And there's 3 bags in front of me with like 2 or 3 items each. Well, when you got $10 for a pound of bacon and $10 for a dozen eggs, there's 20 right there.
That's all gone.
Gone.
Well, it's funny because I mentioned the market, and like people always think the markets are really expensive. Only now the farmers market prices are pretty similar to what you buy a dozen eggs for at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they taste so much better. I'm just going to be honest with you. Let's take a break here. Do you want to hang out? There's another segment. I have a memory care with the Belmont Village. We're talking about senior care. So let's stay for that. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, KKNW 1150 in Seattle, and KTNF in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We'll be right back in a moment.
Hey, Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or
and Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation here on WCPT 820 and KTNF AM 950 and 1150 KKNW. All of our friends listening across the country or wherever you're listening. You might not be in any one of those 3 places, but watching online on YouTube or on Facebook. Joining me in studio is the co-host of It's a Life Thing podcast. It's a video cast. What do they call it when it's on YouTube?
YouTube. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast on YouTube on the second Wednesdays of the month from 8 to 9 p.m. And I apparently am now scheduled for May 14th.
Yes.
May 14th. Well, sweetie, can you put that on the calendar for me? My husband listens to the show, so I have to do it that way. Otherwise, things will get away from me. And that's one of the reasons we're having our conversations tonight from our friends from Belmont Village is so that things don't get away from us. Because I have a mother who is incredible, has lived a wonderful life. And I want to make sure that I'm aware of all the ways in which I need to make sure she has everything she needs. Mm-hmm. Maddie Figgs was talking about her parents. And joining us on the line is Joyce Mahoney, Regional Vice President of Memory Care and Programming at Belmont Village Living. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us, Joyce. I hope you're well today.
Oh, I'm very well, Patty. Thank you for having me. Great to be here.
My pleasure. And by the way, Maddie, please feel free to ask anything or if anything occurs to you, because we were just both talking about our elderly parents. I want to know, Joyce, in regards to memory care, what are some of the things that, we can do, or what are some of the signs that we should perhaps be more invested and engaged in what the people around us are doing when it comes to their mental health and memory?
Oh, gosh. In regards to their memory and their mental health, we need to stay active, and that's at every decade of life. But especially as we get older, we need to veer away from being sedentary and remaining active. And one of those things to do is to stay active even in the outside communities, not just within your home and with family members, although that is terrific, but to be active outside in the community and doing things with a sense of purpose and things that are fulfilling. That's what makes us good human beings, but also healthy human beings as well, and it allows us to age much better and more successfully.
That makes complete sense.
Totally.
Especially having conversations. The thing about like connecting with other people is it's all spontaneous.
Right.
Right. I mean, like watching TV, and I get that, Mommy. My mom watches. I would say actually that brings up a good point. My mom watches a lot of news, which can be a little. I don't know if you've noticed. It's a little overwhelming right now. How do we manage that consumption? Because some people are really kind of tied to watching the news as it unfolds.
Well, they are, and my parents do similar things. They're just glued to the TV every now and then. At certain times of day, that's it, and you can't pull them away. But again, let's provide them some other diversions. And again, like I said, maybe doing something other than being inside the home, glued to the television. Maybe it's doing something as volunteer work, in the local organizations within your neighborhood. And I know April is actually National Volunteer Month. And one of the things that I highly suggest is getting involved in the outside community, but recognizing the impact that as we age, just because age is a factor doesn't mean that we can't get involved with our outside communities. And volunteering and doing this through philanthropic efforts. Volunteers, those who are 65 and older, those numbers have actually increased over the last several years to over 28%, almost 29% of those who are 65 and older. So taking a look at the power of our older generations is immense in the things that they can do. So when you're talking about, sitting in front of the television and watching the news, which is terrific because you want to stay current in the world events and in your community events as well. But again, kind of changing it up a little bit and putting yourself out there. And so different ways that our senior residents, anyone older or aging, it doesn't matter what decade of life you're in, staying involved in life, staying involved in your community and whatever that looks like. Maybe it's fundraising. Maybe it's going to a homeless shelter, a soup kitchen, or, identifying an organization that you just might have interest in and devoting some time to that organization can also contribute to some health factors as well. And there's numerous benefits, such as improving physical and mental well-being, providing a sense of purpose, increasing social interaction. There you go. That's that socialization. And even increasing a person's level of happiness has been shown in studies and research. So there's so many different things that we can do as we age. And, kind of dispelling some of those myths of aging, as we get older, we become sedentary and we slow down. And perhaps for some that is true to a point, but providing our parents, our friends, and our family members as they age encouragement to stay involved and stay connected. That's huge.
I have to ask, if you want to share a little bit about the work that Belmont Village Senior Living provides, in that sense of community, because there's both sort of independent living and assisted living. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do and the layout of looking to a place like Belmont Village.
Okay, so Belmont Village, we provide independent living, assisted living, and also memory care within our communities. So residents can age in place. Again, they can move in independently, and we provide the in-house support with nursing care, care support, engagement. So we have a lot of staff who will keep you engaged within the life of the community as well. We have beautiful communities. We have theaters in our communities. We have hair salons in our communities. So they're very, very engaging, and they grow with the environment, with the population that we have living there. So whatever your desires, we will actually tailor fit to fit your needs, whatever your interests are, and whatever your care needs might be. So it's kind of all-encompassing, all under one roof. and yet at the same time you have a beautiful place to live in, and also you have great food to eat as well. So we have our chefs that are on staff, and we have beautiful menus for residents to choose from for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So we always watch out for watching our weight and staying healthy. And I have to say, our food is so good, you might even put on a couple of pounds at Belmont Village. But
careful now.
It's a bad thing.
Careful now.
I have to ask. Let me just preface this by saying, as a stand-up comic, I find it hard to watch shows about stand-up comedians. But are you watching Man on the Inside with Ted Danson?
I did see that. Watch it. Hilarious.
I love this show so much, folks. If you're not, it's on Netflix. Okay. And it stars Ted Danson, and there's been a private detective is looking for someone to live in a senior, it's their apartments more. Yeah. But they also have that wing, and I just think they do a lovely job of bringing like Sally Struthers. Joyce, how great is it to see Sally Struthers?
Yeah, Sally. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it when you mention the food. Like, I think there's something about in our lives. I remember when I used to work in an office. Like, our lives do revolve around what our meals are going to be.
Yes,
so
they are.
It has to be something to look forward to.
Well, even in school, Taco Tuesday. Everybody looks
hot lunches are my favorite.
Yeah, so I could only imagine if it's pot roast. Pot roast Wednesday, and it's a good pot roast there. They're lining up.
What's your favorite, Joyce? I'm just curious. Now we're talking food.
I actually have to say I love all of our soups. They are to die for. They're so delicious, all homemade. I mean, just absolutely delicious. And our menus rotate quarterly, so there is such a variety of food to choose from. It's absolutely amazing.
I love that. Go ahead.
Hey, I have a question for you. You talked about the memory wing. Can you talk about specifically what types of activities they do in that area, and is that for the residents only, or are seniors able to come to that from outside of the village?
Oh, good question. It is for our residents who do reside in our communities. And so we do provide memory enrichment programs every morning, every afternoon. So it's at least 8 hours a day that it spans. So our residents will stay active despite their diagnosis of dementia, whichever type, and despite the advanced levels of dementia. So we'll tailor fit, we'll adapt and modify the program so our residents can participate successfully. But we have dedicated enrichment leaders who lead the group dynamics for our residents. They're very versed and well-trained in the world of memory impairments and build relationships with the residents. And so they foster a very special connection that encourages our residents to continue to engage actively, joyfully, also create social networks and build friendships. There's, a lot of misunderstanding, too, in regards to the world of dementia, that when you do get this diagnosis that's it, there's not a whole lot that you can do. But if we can sustain memory as long as we possibly can before we start seeing additional decline through the proper stimulation and engagement, then we want to take that opportunity and do everything in our power to help slow down that disease process so our residents can have more healthy and prosperous days. But this is every single day. We have memory care that is for our mild to moderate levels of dementia, and those are for persons who live within our assisted living perimeter. And so they still have the guidance of the enrichment leaders. And then for those persons who may have more advanced stages of dementia and need even more guidance and direction by dedicated staff, they may live in our area, which is called the neighborhood, and things are more modified and adapted to meet their specific needs. So we will encompass engagement, a variety of different types of activities. So there's socialization, there's mental stimulation, physical stimulation, all different types of exercise. We'll go on outings. So again, there's a whole world out there, so we still want to provide that exposure. Yeah. And we still even provide opportunities for new life experiences and learning.
Yeah,
thank you.
Even the process, yeah.
That's fantastic. We've been talking to our friend Joyce, Joyce Mahoney, who is the Regional Vice President of Memory Care and Programming at Belmont Village Living. For more information about Belmont Village, you can go to belmontvillage.com, and we check in every once in a while with our good friend Joyce to keep up to date, because Joyce and I have talked about this before. There are so many people who are caring for children and caring for adults, and as we age, I do have a dream of writing a book. I need to start now because I'm 53, so I'm getting older. But to accept help is one of the things I think we all need to learn. And I think Gen Z is going to be okay with it. Like, I think they're going to demand it in their 80s. Our
parents, we still have parents from like the depression era, and
World War II.
And Vietnam. We've got a lot of those seasoned citizens is what we call them. And do you find with music therapy, I always go into music therapy. Do you find that music therapy will bring some of them out of a certain state and like bring them to like a current status, or do you think that music therapy takes them back?
Ooh.
Probably a little bit of both. Music can be very soothing in regards to perhaps if someone is in a distressed moment. Maybe it's calming, and it can also provide redirection and refocus. But, music itself can just be enjoyable and pleasurable. And if it is familiar, then all the more reason to use it, to get residents engaged, provide redirection, but really to provide that pleasure and that joy. But love the music.
Yes.
Incorporate that into Belmont Village for sure.
It's funny because I'm sitting here and I think about like a certain generation where they had Benny Goodman, that big band music, right? But then when our generation,
our music when we go to the senior
citizens home, we're gonna have.
It takes you to make a thing go right.
Yeah,
it takes you to make it out of sight.
The nursing homes are gonna get lit. We're gonna have some clubs there.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about. I'm sorry. Just saying, I got my playlist ready to go for my senior.
I mean, just the music that we grew up with is going to be just a little different.
Yep. Thank you so much, Joyce. It's great to catch up with you, and I look forward to our next conversation, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Patty. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Have a good night.
You too. Take care. And that will be one of the last times I ever sing on the air. More after this. We'll wrap up in a moment with Maddie Figs, the co-host of It's a Life Thing, the second Wednesdays of the month at 8 to 9 p.m. on YouTube. More in a moment.
Tom Hartman.
Autocrats generally, particularly those autocrats who have narcissistic personality disorder and are sociopaths, as is, in my opinion, Trump, typically do not tolerate high-profile people around them. They want to be the star of the show, and that's certainly been the history of Donald Trump. The only people that he will tolerate around him are people who, when he says, kiss my ass, they fall to their knees.
The Tom Hartman Radio Program. Weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter. WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, joined in the studio by co-host Maddie Figs. She's the co-host of the podcast It's a Life Thing on YouTube, second Wednesdays of the month, 8 to 9, along with Benita Santillanes. Yes. And we were talking a little bit off the air about, I did a show at the Lincoln Lodge. Thank you so much to you and Benita for coming to see me. Yes. And we were talking about, and I'll pull the curtain back. We'll both pull the curtain back a little bit about comedy and people accusing each other of stealing material, or the worry that we'll do material that sounds similar. So I was laughing because that night that we were there, so I did Nick Mom's Night Out. Me and Jeannie Dugan both did that probably about, 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And the joke, they actually made me cut a joke because they said so many moms were doing it. And I was like, God, and I was so mad because I was like, but I do a different intonation. I mean, but it was the joke that I have two little boys. they're 2 and 5, and they're out in the car with the windows rolled down, right? And so one of the comics had that joke, and so I was like, my kids are out in the car too, but they're 19 and 21. So I guess they're okay. But I was laughed. I felt so bad because but the point being, there are certain premises, and especially if it's topical humor, that everyone's writing from the same playbook. Yeah. Right. So there's going to be, I remember when gay marriage, or when we were starting to move towards rights for gay couples or gay individuals, but smoking was being regulated, like you couldn't smoke in restaurants. Right. And so I can't tell you how many comics who were like, who were gay smokers were like, I can finally come out of the closet only to go back in there because I have to smoke. Yeah. Yeah. or they would make jokes about that, and people would start accusing each other of stealing and be like, no, I assure, because I was an MC. Yeah. I was like, believe me, you're not the only ones. Yeah, you're not. You're brilliant. I love you. Yeah. But just so you know.
Yeah, if it's what's current, you write a joke. Eventually, they're gonna start. Yeah. There's only certain directions you can go when it's topical material, unless you have a very unique version of it. Right. Yeah. So they're. It's hard to navigate that, and like we were saying, that's why I do it autobiographical and tell them about my life. It's crazy enough. I'm surprised I've survived it. Yep. I laugh at it, and no one can take it away from me. If you can relate to any of it, then come sit down. We'll have a beer together.
Well, I was telling Maddie off the air, Lady B, that I was raised Mormon, and I always forget you've heard me talk about this, right? Yeah. So I've talked about it on the air, and I forget the reaction I'm going to get, because it is so. Well, one, I'm Irish and Mexican. Yeah. So one, culturally, it doesn't make sense to people. My mother converted to Mormonism when she was in Mexico City, divorced with 3 kids. It'll be in the book, folks. Chapter 3 comes out next week. Chicago Girl. I'm releasing parts of my chapter. Yeah, but the next one's going to be about how they met. Which was my dad's cab, my mom's very first day in the country.
Yeah, I remember you told us this story last time we were here.
It's wild.
Feisty little lady.
Oh, I know. My dad, too. And, it's like, and you have to think, 1968, just things were different, folks.
Yeah. Especially for a girl from Mexico.
Right? Okay, one of my stories I don't know which chapter it's going to go in, but one of my favorite stories I didn't know until after my dad died. My mom just told me a few years ago that they were at a bar, and Mommy, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but they were at a bar, and this guy was giving my mom a hard time about being there. I think because she was Mexican. Right. And my dad came over and was basically do we have a problem here? And my dad was only about 5'4" tops. Yeah. And my mom said, she turned to him, she goes, Larry, he's so big. And he goes, well, I ain't going to carry him. It's just
your dad's got those one-liners, man.
I was like, what's one of my favorite?
The one-liners.
I'm gonna pick him up.
I'm at eye level. I can handle it here. I'll bring him down to my level. You know,
it's so wild. It's so wild. I mean, when you think about your childhood, it's just all the things that you I still can't believe we made it through the 70s.
Man, a latchkey kid, and when the lights came on, that was we were Stand By Me kids running railroad tracks. That was a real thing. I
don't want my mom to know how many times I should have died. I was trying to I went around the cross gates on the railroad tracks because the train was stopped on the platform. So I was like, well, I'll go halfway. And I had roller skates on. And these people, the metal ones, remember the metal ones you could put on your shoes?
I got a brand new pair of roller skates. Yeah, the one that you hooked up to the shoe.
Yep. And I hear these people screaming. And I look, because the train had come from the left. And so I'm like, doo-doo-doo. And there's a train coming from the right.
Oh, nice.
And I had to dive to get, that was... I'm just saying, the times that I was
us kids.
Come on now.
We were just seeking adventure.
So stupid.
That's what happened.
Just wildly
You know what,
stupid.
though? This is how I look at it. If you looked at our playgrounds, they encouraged it. Because there was no way that you didn't leave a piece of skin on the metal slide. What was that thing that spun around? That thing that spun around?
It was hot metal.
Yeah, it was. The long with the really high swings. Yeah,
and the teeter totter. How there weren't more back injuries by letting someone sit up in the air forever and then finally dropping them on their asses.
Yeah, jumping off. Yeah. Wait, and then gravel. What's with the pads for what? Build character, kid.
I know. I definitely have DNA at the Onahan playground. I used to do gymnastics, but like on mats.
Yes.
This was black asphalt, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I skidded on my face.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know why I'm laughing. It was so bad.
No, I mean,
it was a motorcycle accident. Like,
yeah, they're at this point, everything that we had as child, click clacks.
Oh my God!
You know,
the two balls.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean,
why was that even interesting to us? I don't understand.
I think it was just trying to get them to do the actual click clack, but not noticing that if they shattered, you'd be blind. I mean, come on now. I mean, they gave us all of these trying things, so we just pushed the limits.
Yeah, we had so
as
much
kids.
We had
so
fun
much
stuff. Oh my God, we had so much fun.
We had fun,
we
and
did.
None of it was on social media.
Oh my God, I remember I remember I was in college and like someone handed me a joint and I was like, because this was when Clinton was like, I didn't inhale.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I want to run for office, I can't take this.
Yes.
At any rate, we've been hanging out with Maddie Figgs. She's a co-host of It's a Life Thing. This Wednesday, it's every second Wednesday of the month. I'll be on May 14th, and it's from 8 to 9 p.m. along with Benita Santillanes. And this week we were talking about grief, and
yes.
I think that there's a lot of different forms of grief,
right?
And things that we grieve about. I know I'm grieving the results of a presidential election we should have had.
Exactly.
What the frickin' frack?
This is.
My husband every day
We're
says,
just getting started, man. We got to strap in. This is like the new roller coaster at Great America, okay? We're doing that 90 degree
but this
drop.
feels like the edge.
Yeah.
And like people got hurt on that one. That was a straight drop. This is I went off this ride. It's like the one where you stick to the walls, the cliffhanger. What was that? Just like
the rotunda thing where the floor dropped.
Terrible.
Or the one with the floor dropping.
Yes, that was that. The cliffhanger. As long as you weren't on there when someone else just had cotton candy, you were okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Maddie Figgs, you can find her on social media as well, at Maddie Figgs.
At Maddie Figgs.
And they'll be back next month to check in with us. I want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Thank you to our sponsors, Source Solar. Go to source.solar and find out about the great work that they do. Also, visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com and please put in an order for some Lady Justice to help out the work that we do there. Lady B, love you so much. We have Randy Rhodes up next, followed by Mac McNeil. Bye, everybody.
Bye.